Homeless, lonely, unprotected, afraid. The streets were filthy with dirt, dust, and debris. In the cities of China, people's lives had not improved after the Japanese War. Massive economic problems were cutting the government's support. The government's financial policy were chaotic. The homeless and starving filled city streets. Black market trading and corruption were widely spread. This was what the streets of China looked like after the Chinese Civil War with the Japanese. Soon after, the China Civil War began. The China Civil War, the cause of hope, loss, despair, victory, and ultimately a stronger nation and the biggest communist country in the world. Now there is a raging storm, and in the center of it, the nationalists and the communists. All this couldn't have happened without two courageous men. The communist leader, Mao Zedong, who became the first chairman of the People's Republic of China, and the nationalist leader, Chiang Kai-shek, who fought bravely to the end, but unfortunately didn't win. The communists were supported by the Soviet Union, and the nationalists were supported by the USA. In 1945, the sparks ignited the bomb, and poof, the China Civil War began. The China Civil War can be divided into three sections. Part 1. From August 1945 to the end of 1946, the communists and the nationalists raced over China to take over Japanese-held territories and building up their forces in preparation for the incoming war. Nationalists occupied the main eastern cities, such as Beijing, Tianjin, Shanghai, and Nanjing, while the communists took over Manchuria, which was China's vital future as a world power. Also during that period, the leaders conducted many limited engagements about the possibility of peace settlement. Part 2. Throughout 1947 and the first half of 1948, the nationalists had initial success, but later, the communists used the guerrilla attacks that had been so successful against the Japanese. Soon, the success was in favor of the communists. Part 3. The year 1948 was the turning point in the China Civil War. In the latter part of 1948, the communists won a series of smashing victories. The Huaihai Battle was the battle to end all battles, and this victory led to the establishment of the People's Republic of China. Huaihai, what does that even mean? Well, in fact, it is the name of a sea near where the final battle between the communists and the nationalists took place. The nationalists in shining armor marched out unafraid, ready for the communists. They were in groups of equal size, defending the strategic center. However, the communists had better tactics. They worked as a team and took out the nationalist army one by one, surrounding them and attacking them so they couldn't escape. This 65-day battle was over on January the 10th. The nationalists had lost some 500,000 men, and the capital at Nanjing lay exposed for the communists to take over. This is my great-grandfather, Ante Shek. Ante lived in the countryside, 500 kilometers south of Shanghai. Ante felt life was challenging and he was always looking forward to new things. In 1944, he went to Shanghai to start his venture as an entrepreneur, traditional Chinese house architect. Ante later got married to a beautiful local Shanghai girl. Unfortunately, the China Civil War began in 1945, so Ante and his wife had to move back to the countryside. His wife died in the countryside, and Ante married another girl. And she was my great-grandmother. She gave birth to my grandmother in the countryside. In 1947, Ante felt Shanghai was safer, so he and his family moved back to Shanghai. The trip back to Shanghai was a grueling one. First, the family had to walk over 5 kilometers of muddy road to the horse carriage. Since my grandmother and her sister were still too little to walk that far, Ante had to get 2 bamboo baskets and a long bamboo pole to carry my grandmother and her sister. After they rode the horse carriage, they hopped on a train which took them to Shanghai. Ante and his family landed right in the middle of a food shortage, which lasted between 1946 and 1948. There was also a big inflation. Ante and his family couldn't cope with the ridiculously high prices. To get 1 kilo of rice, you had to fill a whole bag with money and pay that. Soon, the nationalists realized they couldn't win the war. So in 1949, they fled to Taiwan. After Ante and his family arrived in Shanghai, Ante rented an old house because builders were reconstructing the damage from the war, and he picked up his old business again. After the war, there were many construction jobs needed in Shanghai, so Ante's business was booming, and he even employed many apprentices. Also, he was a kind-hearted person, and he adopted 4 war orphan brothers who became his foster children. Ante also had a total of 8 children of his own in his life, 5 girls and 3 boys. It was a really big family, and he was very proud of that. October 1st, 1949. Mao Zedong declared the People's Republic of China was established. Under the new government, all the private businesses were converted to state-owned businesses. And my great-grandfather, Ante, became a master engineer in his state-owned company.